If you want to improve your sprinting, jumping, or change of direction, then this video is for you.
At the moment, Hussein trying to find a way through. Can the Jamaican do it? Oh, it's so close!
Stay tuned because I'm going to show you how to put an extra foot onto your vertical jump.
Holy cow!
Now, the vertical jump is a key predictor for sports performance.
What? What?
47-1.
How about 47-1 in the times before right there?
Like I said, it can help you with your sprinting, jumping, change of direction, your agility. It's also a great marker for us to assess how well you're doing with your training when you want that to translate over to your sports performance. Basically, it reflects your ability to generate force quickly, a key trait of any athlete. We also know what the testing benefits of conducting a vertical jump will do. It will show us how good your neuromuscular efficiency is with regards to your overall athleticism. It also offers insights to your fatigue status, which is a key indicator to performance, and it allows valuable tracking when we're trying to optimize your training performance. Before we begin, I'm just going to stop the video there. The main mission of this channel is to help you with your strength and conditioning, but ultimately to help you unlock your athletic potential. I aim to give you all the tools you need to reach that peak performance you're after. So if I could ask you a favor, please smash the like button and hit subscribe. What this will allow you to do is get all the latest information of my content as soon as I post it. But the other thing it's going to do is allow the algorithm to push out my content to other people like you so I can help them too. It'll also provide me with all the data I need to continue making my content better to serve you guys. Back to the video. The first thing you have to understand is readiness. Where are you with regards to your readiness when you're trying to improve your vertical jump? And this is centered around 4 key areas. And they are your technique, focusing on the proper mechanics for jumping and landing. Strength, you need to build the foundations in the lower body for you to jump, absorb force, not get injured and perform well. Power, you need to develop this quality so that you can perform the vertical jump and your athletic tasks at the best explosive capability that you can. And recovery, without looking at recovery, we don't understand how fatigued we are and we can't perform at our highest levels because this will mask our performance. Now, in strength and conditioning, as a coach, we look at 2 main areas. We look at an athlete's skill versus an athlete's capacity. And what we're looking at here is skill. Do you have the foundational technical abilities to actually apply the movements that are tasked in front of you? And capacities. Do you have the physiological qualities required for you to express the skill that you're tasked with? So we need to understand where we're at with regards to our skills and capacities when we're thinking about readiness. So just have that in mind when you go away to your own training sessions and you're looking to develop. So there are 5 key phases when we think about the technical model of a vertical jump. And I'm going to break those down for you so you can understand them, perform them, and aim to execute them proficiently. The first one is your start position. And this goes with any exercise. If we get our start position correct, then we set ourselves up to generate the relevant force to complete the task. You should start with your feet shoulder width apart, toes slightly turned out and ready. Your chest should be up for stability, and this will help you with your power generation. Engage your core and prepare your arms for swinging. This will help you with your momentum when you're trying to get leverage and get up off the floor. The next phase is the dip. This is where we have a counter movement to absorb force and then generate force. Drop into a quarter squat position. You don't want to go too low and you don't want to be too shallow. This should be done vigorously. Think about a spring. Keep your knees tracking over your toes, swing your arms and build up that momentum. The third phase is the takeoff. With that stored energy that you've now generated from the counter movement, drive your legs hard into the floor, extending your ankles, knees and hips into triple extension. Remember to push off through the balls of your feet to gain that extra leverage and that extra height that you're looking for. In the air, you should be fully extended, toes pointed, knees extended, hips extended, arms fully in swing motion, extended up in the air. Remember to focus on balance in flight and also start preparing for landing. The final phase is the landing. Remember, land softly, bending your ankles, knees and hips. Your feet should be shoulder width apart, tracking your knees over toes, and this will also reduce the risk of injury. Key tips, use your arms. Remember, the momentum that you generate will give you leverage, and this will give you those extra inches that we're looking for off the floor. Think about your knee alignment. This will allow you not to leak any force when you're trying to get up, but also to reduce the risk of injury when we're landing and absorbing those excessive forces. Again, you want to control your landing to reduce any risks of injury. And your takeaway points is look to master these technical models and skills so that we can be proficient in the actual execution of your vertical jump. If you have this, it will hold you in good stead when you go away, train, and build the physiological qualities in the gym to enhance this technical model. So now you have the technical model to a T, it's important to start building one of the most important foundational physiological qualities, and that is strength. We know the importance of strength development will increase your vertical jump height. It'll also provide you with the foundations to build explosive power, another physiological quality that you will need, but by having a good baseline of strength, you'll be perfectly primed to build that. We also know by building strength, you will build in the muscles that are associated with helping you get up off the floor. We spoke and mentioned about triple extension. So you're going to think about your calf muscles, your quad muscles, your hamstrings, your glutes, your lower back muscles, all of the things that you should be building strength in to allow you to execute your skill proficiently. And again, this will enable you to have great control when you're executing your vertical jump and have good transfer when you're trying to unlock your athletic performance on the training field, on the pitch, in the court, etc. The other benefit for you doing strength development work is you will begin to ready your ligaments and tendons. Now, what we know is injuries occur when people don't do this. It puts them out of their sport because they're injured. And we know if you're on a medical table, you're not going to be doing much. You're no good to no one. And so readying yourself with regards to strengthening your ligaments and tendons will allow you to reduce the risk of injury. But what we also know is, specifically with tendons, if we can make them more ready, we allow more force to be passed through to our muscles, we get better contractions, and we can produce more force when trying to execute our vertical jump and our sporting performance stuff. It also keeps the integrity there when we're looking at the health of our joints. Now, there are 7 different types of strength qualities that you should be looking at getting better at and improving, and they'll have a great carryover. 1, to your athletic performance, but 2, in getting that extra foot off the floor with regards to your vertical jump. The first one is maximal strength. At the end of the day, this is the highest force that you can generate per single effort. So for example, when you're doing your lifts like your squats and your deadlifts, each time you lift, we're looking at generating as much force as we can. This will provide you with all the foundational qualities so that you can produce the maximal amount of force you can when you're trying to take off on your vertical jump. You also want to train the strength quality of explosive strength. And when you think about this strength quality, it's about how quickly you can generate maximal force. And when you think about this quality, it's your ability to generate force rapidly or quickly. So we call this rate of force development, or RFD it's sometimes written as. It's crucial for quick, explosive, ballistic movements. And if you think about your vertical jump and some of the movements you'll be doing in your sports, this has a huge carryover effect. So when you're thinking about moving in the gym, think about exercises like jump squats, etc. These kind of exercises will have a good carryover when we're looking at trying to generate the appropriate strength quality for you to transfer into your vertical jump. The next strength quality is reactive strength. Now, if you think about the stretch shortening cycle, you need to be able to absorb force, then translate force very quickly for you to mimic exercises like your vertical jump and the tasks that are driven in your sporting activities. And reactive strength will help you do this. What this quality does is enhances your performance by allowing you to store elastic energy through your kinetic chain and then utilize that energy into the task that is driven by the sport. So in this case, it will be a vertical jump. This is where you have to use plyometric exercises like your broad jumps and your depth jumps so that you can mimic the stretch shortening cycle in your training and have that carryover again to your vertical jumping. The next quality is relative strength, and this is basically pound to pound strength. It's your strength relative to your body weight. Higher relative strength aids in you lifting your body mass when you're trying to jump. Speed strength, or you could call it power, is another facet that you should be developing. Exerting force quickly, but using strength and speed. Now you have to think about ballistic exercises when you're looking at mimicking this. So things like your Olympic weightlifting, your weighted jumps, or your med ball kind of tosses and slams. These ballistic exercises are going to help you mimic this strength quality. You'll also have to work on your core strength. What this will help you do is balance and stabilize. Again, this will help you with your technical model, your landing, your absorption of force, and your translation of force. Again, if you are leaking anywhere in your chain, this is going to contribute to you not being so effective in trying to get that extra foot when you're jumping, but also locomoting during your sporting activities will become a lot harder and less efficient. So think about your anti-rotation exercises, your planks, your dead bugs, etc. These kind of exercises will be valuable to you. Last strength quality that you should be looking at is your eccentric strength. Now, I like to call this type of strength your braking mechanics. Now, if we can absorb force, excessive force when we're landing, it allows us to amortize that force, translate that force, and use that when we're looking to jump. But also it will reduce the risk of injury because these forces are a lot higher. So eccentric strength is a huge component of us when we're looking at our strength qualities that we're trying to develop to increase our vertical jump. So eccentric focus exercises like your slow tempo squats, your Romanian deadlifts, etc. will help you build this strength quality. So to summarize on the strength qualities that you need to develop, maximal strength increases force generation capacity. Explosive strength transforms raw strength into fast, explosive outputs. Reactive strength uses the stretch shortening cycle that you'll be using in many of your sporting activities. Relative strength focuses on your pound to pound body weight to strength ratio, which is mimicked in things like jumping. Speed strength or power allows us to generate force quickly, especially for forceful movements like takeoffs. Core strength allows us to stabilize, reduce injury, and reduce any leaks in our chain so we can produce force that we need. And eccentric strength is like our braking mechanics. It allows us to absorb force so then we can translate it, but also it will reduce the risk of injury because we can absorb those high shear forces when we're trying to brake. Now, we've spoken about strength development and I've highlighted some of the power and speed facets that come into when you build foundational strength. But it's important to hone in on power development and have that as a specific when you're thinking about your training. The reason for this is it combines strength and speed so that you can utilize this in your explosive movements. It's also a critical factor in sports. The other thing is your ability to absorb force quickly is essential with tasks like jumping and sprinting. And at the end of the day, more power during takeoff will translate into a higher vertical jump and getting that foot we want extra in our jumping. Now, when we think about the role of power in athletic development, we think about how crucial it is for acceleration and deceleration when there's high forces that need to be translated. It also helps us to react explosively. Athletes with developed power can outperform other athletes that haven't trained this physiological quality appropriately. Think about power as a bridge that converts raw strength into dynamic, game-changing movements. Basically, it's a key physical attribute for athletic success. So I'm just going to list through some of the power and speed traits that you should be looking to train. We have explosive power. This is the ability to exert maximal force quickly. We've spoken about this one. It's crucial for takeoff when you're thinking about your vertical jump, but most importantly, it underpins a lot of the tasks you'll be challenged with in your sports like sprinting and jumping. Think about your Olympic lifts, those ballistics, think about your plyometrics, and you can also do ballistic exercises like your kettlebell swings that really engage those high threshold fibers that are associated with power development. You've got reactive power, and as we spoken about, this will help you with your stretch shortening cycle. You've got to think about your plyometric exercises that really mimic those things. You have starting power, which is basically you generating maximal power from a starting position. How quickly can you generate this? It's basically the initial milliseconds of a movement, the ones that are so crucial in sports. And it's essential for that rapid movement that you need when you're igniting your vertical jump. Again, your Olympic lifts will help you with this. Your sprint starts will also help you with this. And a little secret weapon is your isometrics will also help you with this quality. You also have acceleration power, and this is something that people forget. This is your ability to rapidly increase speed or force output after you've initially ignited the movement. And again, this is really important in sports because quick accelerations give us that cutting edge. So things like short hill sprints or even resisted sprints will be good things that you can include into your training so that you can mimic this power quality. You also have maximal power, which is basically the highest amount of power you can generate combining maximal strength and raw power and explosive speed. This foundational athletic performance marker is really key when we're looking at dictating our force production and speed. So again, trying to incorporate your Olympic lifts and different gym-based movements where you can maximally load them and sub-maximally load them so you can move them at different velocities. You also have endurance power, and this is crucial if you have to have repeated efforts within your sport, or you're tasked with doing repetitions of your vertical jump. And what this will prevent you doing is dropping off your performance marker because you're fatiguing. So it allows you to sustain for a period of time the amount of power you're generating. So circuit training and different explosive movements combined will help you train this physiological quality. And it's actually a quality that is submaximal, that is really important for cyclical sport players. Anything like football, anything like rugby, sports where you have to continuously generate force over a period of time. So in strength and conditioning, we have something called the force velocity curve. And what this allows us to do is understand the nature of the task or the exercise and how we will load it based on the expression. So we understand from this the force a muscle could contract and the speed in which we expect it to be done. As the speed of a movement increases, the maximum force generated by the muscle decreases, and vice versa. So this force velocity curve gives us insights on how we should expect exercises to be done and the nature of the performance. So an example would be a heavy back squat would be done quite slowly in comparison to a really light back squat where you can expect the load to be moved quicker. So when you think about low velocities and high velocities, understanding this force velocity curve will give us insights on optimizing our performance relative to the task that we need in our sports. So if you think about your vertical jump, this is something that's not loaded too much. So you would see this on the high velocity spectrum of the force velocity curve. And it's a big mistake people make when they're thinking about, I want to be a sprinter, or I want to jump, I want to twist and turn, and getting in the gym and only doing maximal strength stuff. Remember, if you only train yourself heavy and slow, you will perform heavy and slow. So understanding this curve will give us insights on how we write our training programs and what emphasis we need to get the appropriate outputs. And when you start factoring these things in and thinking about it logically, you can be really effective in the gym when you're programming and you can see the outputs you want. So again, the point in this video is to give you that appropriate tool and that perspective so that you can increase your vertical jump and put that extra foot on by being intentful in the things that you select. So I feel like there's a lot of understanding there on people lifting heavy, understanding getting maximally strong, etc. But people are often confused between the difference of a plyometric and a ballistic exercise. Two things that we could be doing to enhance our power and speed development, but people often don't understand this. The key thing to understand when you're differentiating them is a plyometric really works the stretch shortening cycle. It has 3 phases. The first phase is an eccentric. The second phase is an amortization phase, and the third phase is a concentric. What this allows us to do is absorb force and translate that force so that we can use the stretch shortening cycle efficiently and then translate that into our sporting movements. So you've got to think about your broad jumps, your depth jumps, etc., where you absorb the force in a given time period, and then you translate that force before repeating that over a given repetition. And this works the stretch shortening cycle appropriately. Ideally, your amortization phase should last less than 0.25 seconds. If it goes beyond this, you're not truly training a plyometric. So just think about that when you're trying to mimic your plyometrics and make them truthful. When we think about our ballistic exercises, think about us moving quickly, not necessarily training the stretch shortening cycle. So when we think about ballistic exercises, we're thinking about throwing or jumping movements performed at high velocities and power, performed with maximal force, giving us rapid acceleration. So when we think about a ballistic movement, we're thinking about jumping or throwing implements. We're thinking about generating maximal force and emphasizing rapid acceleration at the thing we're trying to get rid of, or the implement, the load we're working with. What you're basically doing is training muscles to exert force rapidly against load. So it's really good at helping you with that explosive output that you're looking for. This could be like your Olympic lifts or your med ball throws. Again, when we're thinking about our plyometrics and our ballistic exercises, when we translate that back to our force velocity curve, we don't expect these to be done at heavy loads. They're traditionally done at lighter loads, which mean we can express ourselves quicker than you would see traditionally when you're working your strength-based lifts like your squats and your deadlifts. And again, this differentiation between strength exercises and ballistic power and plyometric exercises allows us to train appropriately for the given tasks of our sports, jumping, sprinting, etc. But it also helps us with our vertical jump. You want to train heavy to get strong, to give you that foundational strength you need to translate into power and acceleration, but you also need to train fast and quick at lighter loads to mimic the tasks of your vertical jumps and your sprinting and jumping in your sports. Now you have that information, I'm going to give you a list of exercises that you should be incorporating in your training to try and get yourself in the best possible place for your vertical jump to increase. You should include squats, deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, and lunges as part of your comprehensive strength part of your program. With regards to your plyometric exercises, things like depth jumps, squat jumps, box jumps, plyometric lunges, include these within the plyometric section of your power development. With regards to your ballistic exercises, think Olympic lifts, think trap bar jumps, think medicine ball slams, kettlebell swings, or even ballistic push-ups. You should also be thinking about acceleration drills, so think sprints, sprint starts, resisted sprint, and even bounding. For your more endurance power-based drills, think about combining circuit training with different conditioning techniques. These submaximal movements that are done quickly will help you with your power development, but also help you with your endurance. If you were to put this into a program, one of the things that you could do is split your week up appropriately. On day one, you could focus on your strength day. This will be where you lift heavy on your squats, your deadlifts, etc. Now again, with regards to your programming, you should systemize this over weeks. You're not going to just go straight to 90%. You're going to work systematically over the weeks, doing the relevant things that are associated with getting you up to scratch. On day two, this will be your power development day. You could include your plyometrics and your ballistics in this day. And this is where we look at moving things quicker, faster. And when we think about the force velocity curve, we're not lifting too heavy here. We're focusing on moving quick and rapid. Again, just like I said with your strength development day, you're not just going to go straight into it. You're going to have to periodize how you move forwards with your exercises progressively so that you don't break down. So you might start with pogo jumps. This is a rapid, light way of us learning how to jump with mechanics. We might do band resisted jumps that help us unload our body weight and teach us good contact time on the floor. It allows us to showcase how we would move quickly and use some of our jumping mechanics, but it's unloaded. Further down the line, we might do some jump squats, we might do some Olympic weightlifting, but you would periodize this over a period of 12, 15, 16 weeks, whatever suits your long-term athletic development plan. On day three, you'll have active recovery. If you don't have active recovery, all you're going to do is increase fatigue. You'll soon break down, but the other thing is, if you're always training in a fatigue state, the likelihood is you're never going to hit the peaks that you want. You'll hit the law of accommodation, which basically tells us we're only training as good as we feel, and we never peak to the high bits that we want to get to when we're looking to perform. So recovery is really key. And I recommend in recovery days, this is where you do your active walks, your active recovery days with stretching and mobilization. You could even include your ice baths and your saunas, etc. This is a really key part of your week. On day four, this is where you might do your speed and agility days. This is where you might do your hill sprints, your sprint starts and stops, your resisted sprints, etc. Day five, this is your endurance conditioning. This is where you'll do your circuit-based training with power output exercises, where you're trying to build up that tolerance to trying to keep the sustainability of your output, again done at light loads. Day six, you can use this as an optimization day where you work on your skills. This might have things like landing mechanics, jumping mechanics, movement patterns. It might also have things like your core development stuff. And on day seven, I recommend taking a total rest, letting the fatigue drop right back down so you can repeat yourself as the week moves forward. That is just an example of a 7-day rotation where we're looking at emphasizing our vertical jump, where we're looking at emphasizing our strength, our speed, our power development, our skill development. And if you factor that in appropriately, you should see yourself progressing within your sports performance. So to conclude, by strategically focusing on your technique, building your strength, understanding how your strength translates into power, also breaking down your strength and power into the different facets that are associated with your tasks in your sport, but also your vertical jump, you can begin to strategize your gym programming, your exercise selection, and your loading parameters so that you can benefit yourself when trying to increase your skill and your capacity within the gym and your vertical jump. By doing this over time and picking your loading appropriately so that you don't just start at the tip of the tree, you work from the base up systematically in your long-term athletic development plan, you can begin to put extra inches on your vertical jump. So please like, subscribe and share to this video if you're liking this content. This will enable you to be the first to be notified when I produce more content. My aim is to help you guys improve your athletic development and unlock your peak performance. Until the next one.